Roll tape. What is Victoria's Secret in 3, 2, 1, go.
Off and running. Rock and roll.
It's empowering,
strong, fierce, sexy, iconic.
Of labor laws has existed since 1943. The Brazilian Penal Code since 1940 provides for slavery or a situation analogous to it as a crime. But the cruel reality of slavery has been demonstrated in society, legislative projects, administrative practices, and civil society practices to combat slavery are intensifying every day. But even so, slavery and its modalities are real in Brazil all over the world, both in urban and rural areas, since human beings have to convert their own activity into personal and family subsistence gain. Such a slavery situation is not new. It has simply been transformed over the centuries. The second biggest industry that is kept with abusive work is the fashion one. Losing only to the technology branch, more than 70% of those who submit to this work are women. In the year 2018, the Walk Free Foundation divulged the results of the research about slave work in the world. Although shocking, the results are nothing surprising and were already expected. With globalization and the advance of economic liberalism, outsourcing ended up triggering such abuse on a large scale. The companies want the best product, made for the lowest price, and don't care about anything else, as employees are outsourced and don't answer to them. The increase of the so-called fast fashion stores, which are the famous department stores, launching not only collections of the 4 seasons, but almost monthly collections, with makers renewed every week, and the ease of simply pick and carry not only the international ones, but also large follow-up stores into penny whimlands have already become involved in slave labor scandals. Today, ethnicity does not mean vulnerability or propensity to slave or analogous work. The selection is made by the capacity of the physical labor force and low costs, not by color. Any miserable person living in regions with a high incidence of attraction to slavery can fall into the net. Renner, a clothing retail chain present throughout Brazil, was held responsible by labor authorities for the exploitation of 37 Bolivian seamstresses in a contemporary slavery regime in an outsourced sewing shop located on the outskirts of Sao Paulo. The workers lived under degrading conditions in lodgings, worked exhaustively, and part of them were subjected to debt bondage. Such conditions are listed in Article 149 of the Brazilian Penal Code as sufficient, even if isolated, to constitute the crime of using slave labor. The famous Victoria's Secret lingerie brand may have its image strongly shaken if the allegations that the lingerie line uses cotton produced with child slave labor for its manufacture are proved to be true. According to Bloomberg, the cotton fiber leaves trucks from Burkina Faso and goes to Victoria's Secret factories in India and Sri Lanka, where the underwear is made. The agency also reported that the children who work in the cultivation of the plant usually have some bond with the farmers. Many are their adopted children. Due to unpaid work, young people people are also prohibited from attending schools or other educational institutions. Nike became synonymous with child labor in the world after Life magazine published in 1996 a picture of a 12-year-old Pakistani sewing a multinational soccer ball. In response, for years the company has been keen to show consumers its efforts to offer employees good wages and decent working conditions. Several are the causes that drive man to slavery, among them social inequality and impunity. The first is poverty, misery, and unemployment, the lack of adequate education among others. From the second there is the recurrence and encouragement of the practice of slavery or similar to it. According to data from the Brazilian Textile and Apparel Industry Association (ABIT) in the Bom Retiro region, 12 tons of textile waste flaps produced by more than 1,200 apparel are discarded daily. The collection of the flaps is carried out in a disorganized way, without worrying about the proper destination. Each piece produced inevitably generates trimmings and flaps that are currently discarded in common garbage. According to the estimate of the United Nations Environment Program UNEP, the volume of urban waste should increase from the current 1.3 billion tons to 2.2 billion tons by 2025. In relation to the disposal of garbage in Brazil, only 58% of the total collected has as destination the sanitary landfills, lands that work according to the legal requirements. The rest is dumped in controlled landfills 24.2% and dumps 17.8%, and only about 4% is recycled. The dialogue about conscious fashion and sustainable fashion has been worked on in recent years and can already be clearly seen in the rise of the second-hand clothing sales market. People are investing in riches, and the taboo that existed about in Brazil is no longer as big. Not only are low prices being valued, but also buying at recos prevents used clothes from stopping at landfills and also saves the energy that would be needed to manufacture new clothes. Consume more responsibly, avoiding buying excess pieces that will not be much used. When application available in Google Play and Apple Store, called Moda Lever monitors and publicizes the stores and how they manage their producers. It puts them in categories analyzing the history, politics, and of these stores. Developed as a way to make consumers aware, the app has more than 100,000 downloads and a great evaluation.